Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Shodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanakari Yamuna Tira Vanakari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Shodanandana Braja Janaranjana Shodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanakari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् नमांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिधिनामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे सपुण्यवाक्पस्तुष्टदेशकारिणे नमो भगवतन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्तराधा कान्त नमस्तुते वृन्दावनेश्वरी कृष्णधामसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च विकासयोग्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः ॐ कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Welcome all of you. Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning. Reading from 4th chapter, 14th chapter, text number 34. Yidham javasita hantum rishayo rudhamanjavaha निदग्धुर कुंकृतैर्वेन हतम् अच्युत निंदया इत्थं व्यवसिता हन्तुम् ऋषयो रूढमन्यवः निजघ्नुर्हुंकृतैर्वेनं हतमच्युत निंदया इत्थं व्यवसिता हन्तुर् इत्थं व्यवसिता हन्तुम् ऋषयो रूढमन्यवः निजघ्नुर्हुंकृतैर्वेनं हतमच्युत निंदया। Itham jabasita hantum rishayo rudha manjavaha vijagnor hunkratair venam hadamachyuta nindaya. Itham vyavasita hantum rishayo rudha manyavaha nijagnor hunkratair venam hadamachyuta nindaya. Itham vyavasita hantum rishayo rudha manyavaha nijagnor hunkratair venam hatamachyuta nindaya. Mataji. Itham, thus, vyavasitaha, decided, hantum, to kill, rishayaha, the sages, rudha, manifested, manyavaha, that anger, nijagnuhu, they killed, kritaihi, by angry words or by sounds of venam, King Vena, hatam, dead, achyuta, against the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nindaya, by blasphemy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. The great sages, thus manifesting their covert anger, immediately decided to kill the king. King Vena was already as good as dead due to his blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Achyuta. Thus, without using any weapons, the sages killed King Vena simply by high-sounding words. Rishabhihi swashramapadam gate putra kalevaram sunitha palayamasa vidya yogena shochati. After all the sages returned to their respective hermitages, the mother of King Vena, Sunitha, became very much aggrieved because of her son's death. She decided to preserve the dead body of her son by the application of certain ingredients and by chanting mantras, mantra yogena. Ekada munayaste tu sarasvat salila plutaha utpagnin sat kathas chakrur upaveshta sarittate. Once upon a time, the same saintly persons, after taking their bath in the river Saraswati, began to perform their daily duties by offering oblations into the sacrificial fires. After this, sitting on the bank of the river, they began to talk about the transcendental person and his pastimes. Vikshyotitam stadotpatan ahur loka bhayankaran apyabhadram anathaya apyabhadram anathaya dasyubhyo na bhaved bhuvaha. In those days, there were various disturbances in the country that were creating a panic in society. Therefore, all the sages began to talk among themselves. Since the king is dead and there is no protector in the world, misfortune may befall the people in general on account of rogues and thieves. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Whenever there is a disturbance in the state or a panic situation, the property and lives of the citizens become unsafe. This is caused by the uprising of various thieves and rogues. At such a time, it is to be understood that the ruler or the government is dead. All of these misfortunes happened due to the death of King Vena. Thus, saintly persons became very anxious for the safety of the people in general. The conclusion is that even though saintly persons have no business in political affairs, they are always compassionate upon the people in general. Thus, even though they are always aloof from society, out of mercy and compassion, they consider how the citizens can peacefully execute their rituals and follow the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma. That was the concern of these sages. In this age of Kali, everything is disturbed. Therefore, saintly persons should take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended in the Shastras. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalau nastyeva nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyatha. Both for spiritual and material prosperity, everyone should devotedly chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Summary of what we read just now. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladi Subhadra Maharani ki. To put it precisely what we read just now, as you all know, Vena was given suitable good advice by the Brahmanas to not be unruly, to not walk the path of adharma, to listen to the saintly sermons given by the sages, and to pave way for all his praja to go back to Godhead. They were willing to teach him the right map. But was Vena in a mood to take up those things? Was he in a mood to receive good instructions? Vinash Kale, Viparita Buddhi. When a person has decided to get destroyed, no good sermons enter his ears. Especially if a person is determined to lead a sinful life. If a saintly person intrudes in his life and gives good advice, and the person changes, that is his good fortune. Like Mrigari, for example. But Vena was not a person who was willing to listen to any good advice. Just similar to Duryodhana. Duryodhana, when he was in his father's court, Dhritarashtra's court, big sages like Vedavyas would come, Markandeya Rishi would come, Narada would come, Dhaumya Rishi would come, so many would come. They would come and all of them spoke on dharma. This fellow will hear with one ear and leave it with another ear. Would never pay any heed because he had no respect for them. He had no, eagerness to walk the right path. So, this is a disaster in someone's life that the person refuses to hear the saintly advice. So, you will see our mind and intelligence always have a tug of war. You will see that. Mind goes by pleasure, intelligence goes by reason. Mind goes by impulses and instinctive behavior. Like, mind wants to enjoy pleasures. Mind makes us feel very proud. Mind makes us feel that we are the center of the universe. Everything should revolve around me. Everyone should be at my beck and call and things like that. False notions. But the intelligence goes by reason. Intelligence says that you are not the first one to think like that. Many, many asuras in the past have come and gone. What about Ravana? What about Hiranyakashipu? What about Kamsa? What about Kartavirya? You can make a long list of the asuras who have been born in this world, in the past and in the recent present also. Where is Hitler? Where is Alexander? Many people actually wanted to usurp all the property of the world and be the center of the universe. And they all have become mixed with the sands of time. So, one should actually look at the nature of the world. So, when you go by the reason with intelligence, then one can listen to the good advice given by saintly people. Otherwise, one goes by the mind, which drags one to hell. So, Vena was, eager for gratifying his senses and mind, by being the pivot of the universe. Everything should revolve around him and everyone should salute him. Very similar to Hiranyakashipu mentality. Hmm. So he was not in a mood to hear any good advice. One thing is to not hear good advice and indulge in sense gratification. That's one thing. But another thing is to stop the progress of the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead, by destroying Brahminical culture. Actually, according to scriptures, uh, they say that the greatest violence is committed when living entities are blocked from going back to Godhead. It is like a child, a tender child, wants to crawl and go to the mother, and you stop the child. You don't let the child go. You block the path of the child, and you pick up the child and go and put him in the middle of the road. How dangerous it is. It's like that. That is the greatest violence done to the jivas. Why Prabhupada was so heavy with the atheistic scientists? This is the reason. Because the atheistic scientists are giving some gadgets for the enjoyment of the living entities. Like they give some smartphones, they give some aeroplanes, they give some video games, they give some grinder, mixie, television, washing machine. So these are all applications of science in the form of technology, technological advancement. But by seeing these facilities, and also the consumer culture became magnified by the advancement of atheistic science and technology. You will see that the companies are producing products profusely, the non-durable products, not so durable. Because if you make very durable, then people won't keep buying. So you produce things which can break very fast, so that you can keep on spending money. And then the televisions will advertise it, billboards will advertise it, and the shopping malls will stock it and sell it. These are all connected industries, you will see. One party produces, another party advertises, and the third party sells. The advertisements give a hype and make the living entities get into the consumer rut, consumer culture. You see this website called Story of the Stuff. Story of the Stuff. If you see, you will see the consumer culture. So then the living entities throng the city for money making, making a lot of money and buying a lot of commodities and trying to enjoy life, forgetful of Krishna. So, and then in the cities, you go to the schools, they will teach the children everything came from a big bang and your ancestors were apes. So, this is the worldview they give. So, give them a wrong worldview and put them in the consumer culture. You thoroughly cheat the living entities from going back to Godhead. You do the greatest disservice, and therefore Prabhupada was very angry. So, and to wake up the sleeping souls like that, back to their original glory of having the right perspective. Our ancestors are not apes, our ancestors are Brahma and Narada and Vyasa and such wonderful, uh, saintly lineage we have in which we all are born, Sapta Rishis. So once one of the sannyasis in ISKCON was telling, we are all Rishiputras, now they are becoming Rakshasas. He was telling, Rishiputras eat prasad, Rakshasas eat meat. So, and that degradation has come about because of this kind of externally counterculture, internally wrong worldview. Both these things have ruined the modern day society. So therefore, those who are preachers, the Brahmanas, what is their duty? Prabhupada explains that of course the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas can do their chanting, reading of the Shastra, and then Krishna Rama Govinda go back to Godhead. We can do that without bothering about the atheistic society outside. But later on, you will find one verse in the same chapter which says, if a Brahmana Vaishnava does not very vigorously preach and save the drowning souls, then his knowledge is compared to a water kept in a pot, cracked pot, which gradually leaks out. That means the duty of every preacher, every whether you are a grihastha, or a brahmachari, or a sannyasi, whoever you be, in our own capacity, we should give this knowledge to people in the neighborhood or people in the society. Everybody should do that. If you own a company, then you should call, all the company colleagues, people to come for some program arranged by the devotees and distribute some books to them, give them prasadam to them, give them a chance to hear about Bhagavad Gita. If you are in a school teacher, then you should teach the children. Or anybody, if you are a housewife, teach some children in the neighborhood some shlokas, some Krishna stories. Everybody in their capacity should preach. If we don't preach, then he says our knowledge will become like a water kept in a cracked pot, which will little by little leak away. Then the knowledge will not remain with you. You will become materialistic, even though we have the knowledge. How many of us have experienced? Sometimes we have the knowledge, still we do wrong things. And the main reason for that is what? The main reason is we are not distributing that knowledge. Because by distributing that knowledge to others, you will become awakened more and more. The nature of this knowledge is to multiply. Like you take one lamp in Damodar month and you can lit up 1,000 lamps, and your lamp doesn't diminish. And all the other 1,000 people benefited from your one lamp. Knowledge is like that. Therefore, Jnana Deepam, it is said. Yasvanabhavamakilashruti Adhyatma Deepamati Tirshatam Tamondham Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana Guhyam Tam Vyasasonamupayami Gurum Muninam. This is about Shukadeva Goswami. Sutta Goswami is saying. He says that Yasvanubhava means when you study the knowledge and you preach it, then you will get Sva Anubhava. Means what? Your own realization of the truth. It will no more be bookish knowledge for you. It will become realized knowledge. Yasvan abhavam akila shruti saram ekam. The essence of, the quintessence of all the Shastras is Srimad Bhagavatam. Adhyatma Deepam. It's a divine lamp, he says. Atititir tamo andam. To help all the suffering souls cross over the ocean of samsara and go back home, back to Godhead. Samsarinam karunayaha, he says. He spoke. Aha means to speak. Karunaya means out of compassion. So here also the sages had a compassion. It is said, no? Samsarinam Karunayaha. So what was their compassion? You see, there are two types of compassion. One is compassion for the body and compassion for the soul. Compassion for the body, you can give poor people some food or some dress, or you can give them free education, or you can give them some regular ongoing salary with a job or something, job opportunity. Many people do those things. But this material compassion, it doesn't go very far. It dies with the body. Whereas if you show compassion for the soul, by reminding the soul about Krishna, and that compassion is deeper compassion. Once Srila Prabhupada came to Pune, many, many years ago, there was one very great industrialist called Bari Malhotra. This Bari Malhotra is the president of TMT in Pune. TMT is Top Management, TMC they call it, Top Management Consortium in Pune. This is the top 50 richest people in Pune. So he is the leader of that group. So, and he also is a Alliance president for almost 4 decades. He's a very big man in Pune. He has Wakefield Industries and all that. So when Prabhupada came, he told Prabhupada, I'll help you build a temple, but I have some very important questions to be clarified by you. He took Prabhupada to his house and said, I believe more in social service, feeding the poor and giving them dress and everything. Why you people build a big temple and with marble you make flooring and everything, make attractive temple? I sometimes feel, Swamiji, why don't we take all that marble and, with that money, feed the poor? Like that he was asking Prabhupada. So Prabhupada told him a little story. He told Malhotra, see, you are a very rich man. Let us assume that you have another rich friend like Tata, Birla, somebody like that. You have another rich friend. And one day you find his child walking on the road, small boy with tattered clothes. Your rich friend's son. Somebody is going to the child, seeing him crying, he is giving some food. Child will eat the food and still cry. Then somebody is giving him a nice cloth to wear. Child will wear the cloth and still cry. Somebody is giving him some medicine, thinking the child has a headache or something. He eats medicine and still he cries. And then you see him. He is not crying because he has no food or clothing or medicine. He is crying because he has lost his parents. So you take that boy and call your friend and tell him, your son is here, I found him. And connect him back to his father. So Prabhupada asked him, out of the 4 people, who did the best service? Prabhupada asked him. So naturally, first one or second one or third one or fourth one? The 4th fellow. because he connected him back to his rich millionaire father. The millionaire father, of course, can give him abundant food, abundant dress, abundant medication. He can keep him in the best of the house. Added to all these things, he can give the child love, which nobody else can satisfy the child as much as the father or the mother. Correct, no? Prabhupada told the story, and it was such a heart-rending experience for Malhotra ji. And then Prabhupada spoke more about Krishna's love for the jivas, how Krishna has created this world and he is looking for all the jivas to come back to him. He spoke from Bhagavad Gita, many verses. Almost it's a couple of hours conversation with Prabhupada. At home also he spoke, and he was driving Prabhupada to Mahabaleshwar in the car. All through the journey Prabhupada spoke to him, reaching to him. And later on, Malhotra ji was so touched. He went to the market and purchased a Krishna dollar. This much size Krishna he has been wearing it in his neck like a locket. Until his last breath, he was wearing it. Big Krishna. So he said, now I understood Krishna is my master. And he was earlier feeding plain food. Now he started distributing prasadam to the people, because prasad also purifies. It is not just filling the belly. It also purifies. Similarly, if you give mundane education, one may earn a degree and get a job. If you give spiritual education, one can go from material world to spiritual world. So the sages are concerned about people being offered the opportunity to go back to God. Dharmartha Kama Moksha, beyond that the Pancham Purushartha is Bhakti. Correct, no? So people should be given a chance to follow this Varnashrama Dharma and eventually come to Shuddha Bhakti and go back to Godhead. And nobody should block it. If somebody blocks it, the saintly persons become concerned. They become worried. You all know that in Hiranyakashipu's section also we have read how Hiranyakashipu told, destroy the gopurams of the temples, kill the cows, destroy the pious trees like orange trees, apple trees, lemon trees and all. Good trees, you destroy them. And then burn the hermitages of the Brahmanas. And Hiranyakashipu was telling also that, you see, you can burn the Vedas or you can kill the cows, you can stop the yajna. But even after you do all these things will again and again go on. Why? Because the root cause of all these things is the Brahmanas. So if you finish those fellows, then none of these things will happen. Cows will not be protected, yajna will not be done, Vedas will not be studied. So you destroy them. So they were actually killing the Brahmanas also. Brahmahatya they were doing. Asuras. So Asura, you can see that. So in this way, Hiranyakashipu's plan was to stop all the offerings to the Devatas and to Supreme Lord Vishnu. He thought Supreme Lord Vishnu is the root and the Devatas are like the branches. So if the tree is cut down, it's completely uprooted and none of the Vedic activities are done. So then we can stop the Daivi culture, the divine culture. And he wanted to introduce demoniac culture. And Hiranyakashipu made one more step. He said, all the pious people should go to hell, according to him. And all the sinful people should go to heaven. And who is the first sinful person? He himself. And he sat in Indra's throne already. He told that all the sinful people should come to my abode, Indra's abode. And all of you, anybody who is doing pious activity should go to hell. He reversed. That kind of thing he was doing, Hiranyakashipu. So Vena was also doing something similar. He was actually na datavyam. He said, na hotavyam. He says in one of the verses it comes. One should not, hotavyam means one should not perform yajna. One should not give charity. One should not do tapasya. And then he said, announce it, bheri nadena. He says, dama, 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 dama. Play the bheri and announce everywhere. Anybody is found chanting God's names or doing yajna, giving charity, performing sacrifices, they will be immediately put behind the bars. Like that he made announcement. So when the Brahmanas saw this, they thought, alas, this king is becoming too atrocious, uncontrollable. He is not only degrading himself, like if you see Sugriva, Sugriva was drinking liquor and, enjoying with the female monkeys, and he was failing in his duty as a king, Sugriva. So one thing is failing in one's duty is one problem, but stopping devotional activities in his kingdom is even more worse. Correct, no? See, this is the reason you will see that the saintly persons, why sometimes would like to connect with people in political power. For example, Buddha connected with Ashoka, and the whole India followed Buddhism at one point of time. Correct, no? You see that. Hmm. Similarly, Chanakya is a Brahman. He connects with Chandragupta Maurya. And through Chandragupta Maurya, he brought about the golden age of Guptas. India, you know that. Similarly, you will find Vishwamitra is coming to Dasharatha's court and requesting for Rama to come and help him in killing Tataka and Subahu, Maricha, and all these fellows who are stopping the yajna. Correct, no? So the Kshatriya means the Bahubal or the physical power of the Kshatriyas that is required by the Brahmanas for the protection of religious principles. Same principle, like you see that picture there in the top. Lord Krishna in the battle of Kurukshetra, he shows a Vishwarupa Darshan. He's got a gada in the hand, you saw. But if he hits on the head of one asura, is finished. Like he hit our Hiranyaksha. Correct, no? So, Lord has four things in four hands. Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. Padma is the lotus. Shankh is the conch. These two are for whom? For the devotees. With the Shankh, Lord touched the head of Dhruva. And Dhruva became a great learned devotee, reciting so many prayers. And the lotus is also a sign of auspiciousness. Those two are for the devotees. And the other two, Gada and Chakra, are for the demons. With Gada, Lord killed Hiranyaksha. With Chakra, he killed Shishupal. Correct, no? So those are for the asuras. So both are there. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samstapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna did that. He destroyed the asuras. He protected the saintly devotees. And he gave the Bhagavad Gita knowledge. Dharma samstapanarthaya. He did that. And now the kings in this world also should do the same thing. They should keep the rogues and thieves and irreligious fellows and those who are perpetrators. Like rogues and thieves become rampant when there is no king who is protecting dharma. You all know this. In America, the New Orleans, there was a big cyclone some 6 years ago. There's a big cyclone there. Almost it lasted for more than a week, I think. So Katrina, Rita, and different names, cyclones coming from the ocean, and knocking down buildings, and cars are flying up. And the city leaders, they made announcement, evacuate the city. Nobody should stay. And there was bottleneck in the traffic. Nobody could cross the traffic and come out. And all the telephone lines were shut down. Electric lines were shut down. There was no proper supply of water or grocery and oil and rice, wheat and all those things, because everything comes from villages to the city. So people wanted to get out of the city. Getting out was also very difficult. And there was no power supply. Can you imagine, day and night there is no power supply, no telephones, and no proper transport facility, and you have to quit the city. At that time, thieves and rogues started flourishing because they thought this is the best time. People are leaving their homes and vacating city. Go and break down the homes, and one is loot the money. Loot the money, loot the valuables at home. This is the best time. And also, they may abuse women, abuse children, loot the money, and these kind of things increased at that time. Already people are struggling. They are suffering. Adding insult to injury, that kind of things became rampant. So they try to speak to him properly. Concealing their anger, they spoke to him with great words of wisdom. But this fellow wasn't in the mood to hear at all. Yeah. You see, a saintly person, can he take part in political situation of the country? Many people have this question. Now, I already gave you some examples. Vishwamitra coming and taking Rama's support for killing Tataka. In the same manner, we can give many evidences in the scriptures where the saintly people connect with kings to make sure the dharma can be implemented in society. And the king has varieties of powers. For example, the king has monetary power because the entire country pays tax to him. The king has political influence over the people because people have to listen to what he says. Like the leader of the country is appreciating, Gita, Bhagavad Gita, then the whole country appreciates. And Yata Raja Tata Praja, we say, correct? When a leader is respecting saintly people, then all the Praja will also respect saintly people. When the leader is following the teachings of saintly order, then the people will also follow the saintly order. You will see that. And in this way, generally when you say leader means who is leader? A group of people, amongst them consider that one person in the group will stand out as a leader, and when he speaks, others will listen. He is a leader. And the kings are people who are very famous and popular amongst their praja in terms of their chivalrous nature, in terms of their character, in terms of their leadership qualities, in terms of their ability to offer protection to the praja, in terms of their ability to offer welfare for the people, like arranging food, clothing, shelter, and then spiritual wisdom through the brahmanas, and keeping everything in order. So a Kshatriya is one who uses his kshatriya to offer shelter and protection and welfare. Protection, that is a true Kshatriya. And Kshatriya is a degraded Kshatriya. He also has power, but he misuses the power. Like Hiranyakashipu misused the power. Sugriva misused the power. And here we find Vena misusing power. So, this is the problem. If a Kshatriya does not listen to the saintly order and he becomes whimsical, independent, then he becomes a great disgrace for the society. Because it's like an elephant who has become mad. Can mad elephant do any good? I have videos I have seen where a mad elephant lifts the scooter and throws up in the air. It can destroy the scooter, destroy the autos, cars. In one of the videos they showed the elephant in the forest. They have parked a car and gone in the forest. It goes and sits on the top and putting his two hands and completely smashing the car. That much the elephants can do. It can completely smash it down. So a Kshatriya king, if he is unruly like a mad elephant, he can do great disservice in society. So, and also when does a Kshatriya go off track? Like a railway track is there, train should go on the track. Similarly, Kshatriya should go on the track laid by saintly people. But sometimes the train goes derailed. Derailed means the train goes off track. Can it move forward? It cannot move forward. It completely topples. Similarly, how do you know that Vena has toppled? You will find they will disrespect the saintly order. That's the beginning. You will see that. Like you see our Indra. Indra disrespecting our Durvasa Muni once. Another time, Indra disrespecting Brihaspati. Brihaspati came to the court and Indra was sitting with his wife. Somebody was carrying umbrella over his head and people are showering flowers. He became very proud of his position and he ignored the Guruji. He didn't bother him about him. He didn't offer respects. And Guruji vanished from there. And the result was he lost all his opulences. He became completely bereft of all opulences. For quite some time he suffered. Not only him, he and all demigods suffered because of that. So, in this way, a king sometimes does not pay heed. He thinks, what is this Brahmana great? I have more power and I have so many people following me. Whole country salutes me. So he thinks he is better than Brahmana, but Brahmana may not be physically powerful. He may not have the physical influence, but he has the truthfulness. he has the character, and he has devotion to God. That means Brahmana Vaishnava is carrying Lord in his heart. That is his potency. And with that potency, when a Guruji becomes upset, enraged with a Kshatriya who is walking the wrong path, that Brahmana doesn't have to do much. That's all they said. What they said? That's all. That one was enough for him to at once die. Uh, Actually, I will not take names, but I'll tell you there have been politicians who went against God, and it was only a matter of time their Ayush was finished. You will see that. They did something very glaringly wrong. Whole society could see that they are doing something very seriously wrong against God, against the saintly order. Somebody, uh, one of the very big leaders in the past, was told by somebody that you cannot, you know, go over the Jagannath's temple, Jagannath's temple Gopuram. So that person told you, take my plane over that. Within the next 2 days, that person was finished. Yeah, there are people like that, big politician. So, because just over the Gopuram, there are many things, secrets about Jagannath Puri, more than 20 secrets. You will see that the flag is flowing in which direction? Opposite direction. Wind is flowing in one direction, it flows in the opposite direction. You keep some 6 pots. Which is the pot in which food should be cooked first? Bottom should be cooked first, but which is cooked first? Top one. Like that, there are many secrets in Jagannath Puri. But if somebody thinks all this is all bogus, and then somebody tried to play with God, and then eventually you saw, that person was finished. Similarly, there are also other places people try to do many things against God, and the result will be disastrous. Either against God. Therefore, there's a famous verse. Ayushriyam yasho dharmam lokana shishaye vacha hanti shreyamsi sarvani pumso mahadadikramaha. Mahadatikrama means mahat means when one acts against the pure devotees of the Lord Krishna becomes very angry. And the result of Lord's anger is Achyuta Nindaya. He says, when he did Ninda to Lord Achyuta, and the result was Vena was destroyed in a moment. Now, after Vena was destroyed, uh, he was dethroned, he was destroyed. And what are the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas doing? They had no vengeance towards them at all. They all came to the bank of Saraswati river and they were sitting and hearing Lord's pastimes. That is their eternal activity. Just coming and discussing Katha, they thought as if nothing has happened. But the mother of the king Vena, she was very attached to her son. After all, it is her son. Yeah. Even if a son is a bad son, mothers are attached. That's the nature of this world. Once my spiritual master was saying, when all the devatas were very much worried, they went to Brahma and reported about Hiranyakashipu, what atrocities these fellows are doing. Even before coming out of the womb, there was smoke pervading the whole universe, hot smoke. Imagine when they come out, what all atrocities they must have done. So, Maharaj was telling when they reported to Diti that your 2 sons are doing atrocity. She said, they're little naughty boys. Little naughty. That's all right, she said. Are they little naughty? They were creating disaster in the whole world. But the mothers always have the attachment to their sons, even if they are creating a lot of havoc also. They will say, after all, he's whose son? My son. So Sunita took the dead body of Vena and preserved it in some oils and chanted some mantras to preserve the body, which will be later on processed by the Brahmanas, because the semen coming in the lineage is very powerful. Because who is Vena's father? Anga was a very, very noble king, pure devotee king. So the grandson, gets the quality of the grandfather. So because grandfather is Anga, there is a possibility that the grandson may have similar qualities like grandfather. So the Brahmanas actually, they had the technology in the Vedic times, how to churn. Just like nowadays they talk about tissue culture and many things like that. So they knew the art of churning the body of Vena, and in the semen is the soul situated. So using that they could bring out Prithu and Archi. Later on it will come. So she had preserved. But in the meantime, what happened was The Brahmanas were sitting peacefully and discussing pastimes. But then they could hear loud sounds of horses, horses going, and people screaming, yelling, people being chased, and their money is being looted. Women, children, old people, all crying and weeping, and a wind storm everywhere. So then now they understood, oh, ho, again the rogues and thieves who were subdued have again now come back to power now. Because when Vena was there, they were under control. Now Vena is gone, again they have become very powerful. Now they thought, now the cat is gone, rat can dance now. Huh? Rats think that now no cat, no more Vena now, so they have no more fear. They again engaged in terrible activities. Huh? Now the Brahmanas understood, now we have to do something now. Huh? What is to be done? Mangalaya cha lokanam kshemaya cha bhavaya cha. It is said in the Bhagavatam. Three things Brahmana Vaishnavas are concerned about. One is the material welfare, bhavaya. And kshemaya means freedom from sufferings. And mangalaya means Krishna prema. Mangalaya cha lokanam kshemaya cha bhavaya cha. So in this world, the jivas need food, clothing, shelter, without which even normal life will be hampered. And once they have that, then they actually can think about liberation from all the sufferings. The three sufferings, Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika. To Tapatraya, we call it. To get liberated from this world of suffering, everybody can look at the path of Jignasa, Tattva Jignasa, and Moksha. And beyond that moksha is what? Krishna Prem. So the sages are concerned about bringing the people to the prema of the Lord. But for that, Varnashrama is a very good platform, like a springboard from where we can jump to Krishna Prem. Pure devotion service becomes more easy to practice for especially people living in the world. If there is a Varnashrama setup actually means what? Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. This order should be followed. So I will show you one verse. See here. Is all of you repeat this? Bhaktikanam cha bhavanam shakti hrasam cha tatkritam ashraddhadhanan nisatvan durmedhan hrasitayushah durbhagham cha janan vikshya munir divye na chakshusha sarvavarnashramanam yadyau hitamamo gadrak. See, Vedavyas is seeing now. Here you will find here. Bhauktikanam cha bhavanam. You will see, actually there are two sections. This is actually Sutta Goswami and Shaunaka Rishis. Shaunaka Rishis are also seeing the world how it is. And the Veda Vyas also. Here also you will find in 7th chapter also, in the first canto you will find. Actually great souls means they have to see how the world is going. So here it is mentioned here. The great sage Vedavyas was fully equipped with knowledge, could see his transcendental vision. What did Vedavyas saw? Bhautikanam cha bhavanam. Everything that is made up of matter, it was becoming Shakti Hrasam, deterioration of natural power. Ashraddha Danan, people are becoming more and more faithless. Nisatwan, they are becoming very impatient and intolerant, in want of goodness. Durmedhan, they were very dull-witted. Hrasita Ayushaha, their life duration became very short. Durbhagan, they were also unlucky because they had to struggle hard for earning their livelihood. Janan Vikshya, at that time Vedavyas saw that. Divyena Chakshusha, with his divine eyes he could see that. And then Sarva Varnashramanam Yad Dadyau Hitam Amogadrit. For all the people in all the orders of life, that means Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, what would be good? He contemplated on their welfare. All orders of life, it is said. The Prabhupada is saying in the purport here, as Kali Yuga comes, what all happens here? He says, mental body of the people becomes so much reduced, memory also is reduced, and he says the food grains, it doesn't give so much strength like before. How many of you have seen your grandfather very strong? They have body like steel, and now our bodies are so weak. If people lift a suitcase, they say, oh, hand is paining. People say like that. Our bodies have become so weak now. The land does not produce food grains in the same proportion as it was producing in previous ages. Cow also gives less milk. If you see Deshi cows, they give very little milk. And there is another cow, you all know very well, like Jersey cows. They give abundant milk, correct? Na? They give. But the Deshi milk are very special. It has, as you all know that, they, with the hump, they get the Surya, this thing and all. Lot of benefits. But that's the nature of Kali Yuga. The land does not produce much food grains. Cow doesn't give much milk like before. Vegetables and fruits are also less potent, now powerful. And both men and animals do not have sumptuous nourishing food. And due to all these necessities, life duration is reduced, memory is short, intelligence is meager, mutual dealings are full of hypocrisy and quarrel. So Vedavyas was seeing all these things by his transcendental vision. As an astrologer can foresee the future of fate of a man, astronomer can foretell solar and lunar eclipses and everything. Similarly, Mukta Purushas, they can foretell the future of all mankind. So they are concerned about, always they are eager to render welfare for the people, Prabhupada says. And then Prabhupada says here, what he says, they are the real friends of the people in general, not the so-called public leaders who are unable to see what is going to happen 5 minutes ahead. In this age, people in general, as well as so-called leaders, are all unlucky fellows, weightless in spiritual knowledge and influenced by Kali. And Prabhupada says, for example, in the present age, there are so many TB patients and TB hospitals. But formerly, this was not so, because the time was not so unfavorable, he says. Therefore, Vedavyas, he says, and all the selfless workers, they are always busy planning to do something good for the people. So, and he gives a long list here. We have Vyasa, Narada, Madhva, Chaitanya, Rupa Goswami, and Bhaksan Saraswati, etc. means who is etc.? Srila Prabhupada and his disciples also. They are all one and the same. The personalities may be different, but the aim of the mission is one and the same, namely to deliver fallen souls back home, back to Godhead. So now we can do two things. Top down you can come, or you can go down top. What is top down? Go to the Prime Minister of India or Chief Minister of India, MLAs, MPs. These are one type of leaders in society, and request them to become Krishna conscious. And they have no time. They are very busy, you know that. Another level of leaders are bureaucrats. 20,000 bureaucrats, intelligentsia of India. Try to make them Krishna conscious, because they are the ones guiding the Prime Minister and the team of how to run the country. But then making them Krishna conscious also is challenging them, because they are also super busy people. 16, 17 hours a day they will work. Another type of leaders. Then you can also consider the educational institutions, like the owners of the colleges, principals, or teachers. They are also one type of leader, because they influence the lives of the youth. Correct, no? So we can try to make them Krishna conscious, because one leader becomes Krishna conscious, they can actually inspire the whole college. Like in our Ahmed Nagar, we have one madam. She became a 16-founder devotee, and she owns the school. She is the principal of the school and she owns the school. Every morning she started morning gathering, all children coming together singing Hare Krishna, and they recite shlokas. She reads from our book, Value-Based Stories book. They celebrate all festivals, just like we do festivals. It is becoming like a BMS type of school. So she is actually inspiring so many children to become Krishna conscious like that. And many, many teachers have started wearing tilak, chanting now. One leader can impact so many people like that. So, all the top-notch premier institutes leaders, they should become devotees of the Lord. If they become this top-down, then people become. And one more advantage is, like we had gone to one college in Bangalore, one of the colleges. So the director of the college himself was sitting in the first row. Not only attended the program, he also came to the dais and spoke 10 minutes very effectively, inspiring all. So everybody, then the whole college comes. When the top person is attending, then they all Jata Raja, Tata Praja. So he can influence those leaders. And also, even the mother and father are also leaders. Because if a woman is pure and chaste and religious and satisfied and not greedy, and if a woman is, aligned with sacred scriptures, then she will produce powerful children. But if woman become polluted, strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. He says, Adharmambi bhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyaha. Arjuna says, if women become polluted in society, then the children will become unruly they'll be like ghosts only. Huh? They'll create a havoc in society. But saintly mothers produce saintly sons also. Sons and daughters, they'll become very powerful. So then preaching to the girls and preserving their purity so that they'll produce very powerful sons and daughters. That is also important. And how is that possible? Even though a woman may be chaste and pure hearted and powerful, the husband is weak, spiritually weak and degraded. Then he drags the whole family in the wrong direction. Therefore, fathers are also important. Men also should be given training. So, therefore, there are many practical action plans we can think about. I was thinking deeply in my mind also, especially, you know, those boys in colleges and other places, those who have a very, very saintly thought process they have, and they are very eager to do great good to the society, they can become brahmacharis. Dedicate your lives as brahmacharis, and whole life is available for you. Imagine if they join at the age of 25, another 50 years they have, 50 to 60 years they can preach. But those who want to marry between the age of 25 to 50, they also should live very close to ISKCON temple, come to the temple, take diksha, and chant the holy name, and you maintain the temple nicely. Take care of the deity worship, take care of the accounts, take care of the book distribution, everything in the city, and send all brahmacharis out of the temple in bus party, going out, preaching in villages and other places. They should go out. So grihasthas can do administration. Even though you may be working in office, husband and wife can come and take care of the temple. If they take care of temple, brahmacharis don't have to be stuck in the temple. They can go out. Then after one crosses 50, then sons, daughters are all grown up. Then hand over your business to the sons and daughters. Then the husband and wife can become even more dedicated, devoted. They can be fully available for service. Prabhupada said, even though they may live in their homes, but they should have their day very nicely, just like brahmacharis and sannyasis have no other business. Like that, vanaprasthas can also live a life like that. They should not be attached to the materialistic things. My business and money making and enjoying life, going and socializing here and there. They should not waste time. Already 50 years are over. So they can actually devote more time in studying the Shastra, preaching the Shastra. They can also travel. They can actually become interface between brahmacharis and the outside world. And also sannyasis and outside world. They can act as an interface. Many of the vanaprasthas can do that. So in this way, our brahmacharis and the vanaprastha people have ample of time. And the grihasthas will not have so much time because they have their family duties and responsibilities, which they have to do also. They should not run away from it. So, but along with the family duties and responsibilities, they also should maintain the ISKCON temples, blessing the deity, celebrating festivals in the temple, considering temple like a home. They can take care so that the people in renounced order can go out and reach. Like you go any village, you find, you will find the Christians have done terrific preaching. Everywhere they have churches and cross everywhere. That goes to show their missionary spirit. How much they are hardworking, you can see. There are Christian stories you will hear. You send them to a island, they will spend their whole life till the last breath in the island. And in that island, they will make the whole island into followers of Jesus. They have done that. Actually, you cannot criticize any other religion. Whoever has the love of God, they have the spirit, they are expanding, they are working hard. You can take inspiration from them. You can appreciate. Like Prabhupada said, look at the Muslims, small children, they go to madrasas. If right from the age of 3 or 4, up to the age of 7 or 8, small children wear the topi and they study Quran and they send and they train them like that. After that, they go to the regular schools. Now, how many of our children are getting spiritual training? You tell me, before going in the outside world. So Prabhupada actually drew inspiration from different religious groups. Wherever there was sincerity in practicing the religious principles, Prabhupada appreciated that. So, in this way, instead of waiting for the king to become a devotee, we can go down top. From the lowest rungs of society also we can preach. Everybody in every walk of life should distribute. Like the sages are thinking about the welfare of society. So every one of us should also think like that. How I can do good to the world. Initially we are selfish. We think about my food, my clothing, my shelter, then my family members. Then we have to broaden our perspective. Then you become little selfless and do good for others. You will see in our body, say you are running, suddenly you fall on the ground and immediately your knee starts bleeding. You will immediately see two hands will come, catch it, and the mouth will blow. You've seen that? Immediate one. And then hand will remove it and get some tincture or something like that. You've seen that? So the other parts of the body come to help the suffering part. Similarly, if some dust falls in the eyes, immediately you will find, you will take a cloth or something. People do like this and keep. You've seen that? Huh? So different parts of the body come to help. Uh, if one part of the, similarly, all living entities are parts and parcels. When we see other living entities suffering, we can't keep quiet. At the same time, we should know that all the parts of the body, they have to serve the whole, which is the belly. Like Prabhupada says, when the body wants, you want to comb the hair, you tell the fingers, pick up the comb. Like that you go away. Correct, no? And you have to go to the office now. You tell the hand, pick up the bag. You pick up the bag. So the hands are serving the body. You will see that. Similarly, if you give some gulab jamun or rasgulla, Prabhupada says the hands will not smash it. Rather, they'll take it and put it in the belly. Why belly? Because when you put in belly, then only hand gets nourishment. Similarly, all the parts, they should have sympathy for the other parts, and all the parts should actually serve the whole. So, in this way, you will see that when Lord is pleased, and we should please the Lord, and we should actually inspire all jivas to please the Lord. This is actually down top. Gradually, who knows, as the time goes, over a period of time, some devotee may become a leader tomorrow. He may become a MLA or a CM or a PM, and there may be a very bright future for all the people. He keep preaching at all levels. Prabhupada tried teachers, scholars, he tried leaders, politicians. Everybody Prabhupada tried to make them devotees. So in this way, essentially 2 points we discussed today. One is about, a king should not become atrocious king. He should be a religious king. If he's atrocious, his destruction is assured. He'll be doomed. Whether it is Hiranyakashipu or whether it is Vena or Ravana, they will be destroyed. So kings should walk the path of a righteous king. That was one thing. So Vena did not do that. Therefore, he was destroyed. You can see that he didn't align with the true north, universal principles of alignment with God. He didn't do that. Rather, he was actually acting against the interest of the living beings. So he was destroyed. Second point we discussed is that the Brahmanas are always thinking about large scale welfare of all the people. Mangalaya cha lokanam kshemaya cha bhavaya cha. People should eat proper clean food, pure water, be able to live peacefully. And they also should be able to come out of all this Trivida Tapa sufferings. And all that is accomplished only by one thing. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama iva kevalam, kalau nastyaiva, nastyaiva, nastyaiva gatiranyata. From chanting, everything will come. If you chant, you will get 4 things by chanting. Association of devotees, then knowledge about devotional service, engagement in seva, and going back to Godhead. You see, one name he called, Narayana! Who called? Jamil. 4 things he got. As soon as he called, he got association of devotees. Who are the devotees? Vishnudutas. And then subsequently, they gave him knowledge of devotional service. He got that knowledge by hearing them. Then they also blessed him and went away. Then he went to Haridwar. And there he joined the Vishnu temple. Every day took bath in Ganga, associated with saintly people, worshipped Vishnu, studied Shastra, correct, no? So that way he got seva opportunity, Krishna seva. And finally, in the same place, after 12 years of practice, Vaikuntha airplane came. And the Vishnudas told him, now you are eligible to come back home, back to Godhead. We are going to take you. So he went back to Godhead. So in our life, we all are already chanting. So are you getting association of devotees? If you are chanting regularly, then only you will get. There are people who have given up chanting, so they don't come to temple. Because chanting is your connection to God. If you stop chanting, then we stop association also. If you are regularly chanting, the chanting will impel you to go to temple and meet with all other fellow devotees and all. So you got association of devotees. Are you getting a chance to learn about devotional service? And are you getting chance to do seva? So 3 are over. Last one, you can just keep waiting. Vaikuntha airplane will come and take you back to Godhead. Prabhupada ki, Bhakta Vrinda ki, and Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.